In the history of the OHL, there's been a lot of great players and a lot of can't-miss prospects. Now, until John Tavares broke this player's record many years later, Peter Lee was considered the greatest scorer in OHL history. And you're saying to yourself, who's Peter Lee? Well, we're going to fill in some of the blanks. Did you know he was a Montreal Canadiens prospect for 2 seasons until he was sent out of town in the Peter Mahovlich deal? Here we go. Now, Peter John Lee, born January 2nd, 1956, was actually born in England, one of the few NHL players to ever be born there, in Ellesmere, England, and grew up in Quebec. Arvida was his home community in the province, and as a youth he learned to skate on the outdoor surface of his home community's Powell Park, and later played on that town's Pee Wee Orioles minor ice hockey squad. Now he played, and he first came to Providence in the 67, 68, and 69 Quebec International Pee Wee hockey tournaments with the Orioles. And due to his great success, the family decided to pull up stakes and move to Ottawa in his mid-teens to play, of course, with the stellar squad known as the Ottawa 67s. Now, in the 72 season, he played only 12 games in a regular season with 1 goal, but in the playoffs he shone with 2 goals and 5 assists in 18 games. Now, his totals with Ottawa were quite impressive, and by his 4th season, ladies and gentlemen, if you can believe this, in 136 games in his last 2 years in junior, he scored almost 150 goals. 150 goals in 2 seasons. He set a new league record with 81 goals in 75-76. And his career total of 213 career goals lasted for 33 years until March 8, 2009, when current Toronto star John Tavares scored his 214 to surpass Peter Lee. Now, after setting a new league record with 81 goals in 76, Lee was chosen actually 12th overall in the first round of 76 NHL entry draft and 21st overall by the Toronto Toros. Now, he was sent to Montreal's farm team in Nova Scotia for seasoning. Now, his first year with the Voyageurs, he had 33 goals and 60 points in 76 games, including 5 games in the playoffs. Now, Montreal had their sights set on Pierre Larouche. We talked in the previous podcast, and we knew that Montreal had to sweeten the pot a little bit. Considering Larouche was a top junior in the Quebec League just 5 years previously, it seemed a no-brainer that he would, not only take Peter Mahovlich off their hands, because, he was feuding with Mario Tremblay and other players. With 23 games with the Voyageurs, 19 points, when the trade transpired, some people felt that Montreal had given up on Peter Lee for some reason and chose Francophone junior star over an Anglophone junior star. Now, because he never played for the Canadiens either in a regular season or exhibition, it was kind of a head-scratcher. They never gave him a shot with Montreal before trading him. Now, in this trade we're talking about, Peter Marsh also came back, who was eventually a WHA, graduate with Winnipeg. We'll go on that in a future podcast because I like to talk about Peter Marsh. Now, Lee was a fine offensive addition to the Pens and, really had a strong power play field. His first full season with Pittsburgh, he had 32 goals and 26 assists for 58 points, and that was one of 2 30 goals seasons with Pittsburgh. He had 30 goals in 81, and but eventually his scoring play basically could not hide the fact he wasn't a two-way player. Now, he played on probably Pittsburgh's best line, which included Greg Malone and former Montreal Canadiens prospect Rod Schutt. Now, Pittsburgh rarely made the playoffs in that era. Actually, Lee only had 19 games in the playoffs with only 8 points with no goals. So whatever he did in the regular season wasn't passing on to the playoffs. Now, he finished his NHL career after, for some reason, being sent to the minors in the 83 season. He eventually decided to play in Europe for a number of seasons and put up strong strong totals in the Germany League, scoring 340 goals in 40-15 matches before retiring in 1997. Now, he was inducted into the German Ice Hockey Hall of Fame in 2008, and that was deserved, because he played, Dusseldorf was a very strong Tier 1 squad, and his best season, Dusseldorf was a 40 goal total in 43 games, because Germany played a staggered season. Now, the NHL totals were very impressive, for me at least. 114 goals, 131 assists for 245 points, and a bummer, never scored in the playoffs with 19 games and 8 assists. From his time in Germany, he returned to Canada, and he replaced the legendary Brian Kilrea behind the 67 bench in 94-95. But the dismal performance by the team prompted Kilrea to return and replace him in the 96 season. He then would return to Germany following the season and briefly resurrected his playing career. Now, he served as head coach of the Berlin squad from December 97 to January 2000, and he was manager of the club and got promoted to CEO in 2005. And in 2008 and 2010, he received the Eishockey News Manager of the Year honors. And during the 2006 Olympic Games in Torino, he also served as assistant coach of the very talented Swiss national team of that season. So an international star, Canada, U.S., Switzerland, Germany, coming from England, a very, very prestigious career in North America, prestigious career overseas, but that number sticks out for me. And let's look at the totals, ladies and gentlemen. That 1976 season, even I, as an 11-year-old, heard about this guy. 66 games, 161 points, 81 goals, 80 assists, like Mario Lemieux and Gretzky numbers. 7 goals, 11 assists for 18 points. But let's look at it again. The record he held, that was only broken 37 years later. That's tremendous. And like I said, Montreal had a lot of these top prospects, and I still don't know why they never gave him a full chance. Because I would like to see if Peter Lee being on like a third line with Montreal, but no offense, for what they got for Peter Lee, and seeing Larouche's low totals in Montreal until he put him on the first line, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I think Peter Lee should not have been traded, but that's just me. So thanks for listening for the latest Montreal Canadian podcast. We hope you enjoy it, and keep your stick in the ice. Bye.